So, hello there, and welcome back to yet another Night of the Movies podcast. I'm Spy Knight, and in these podcasts, I like talking all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing Argylle. But just before I do that, I should say what's at the start of every podcast I do, which is, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello to my viewers, but if you prefer to listen to your podcast on Spotify, well, let me look, as you can also listen to the podcast on Spotify at Night of the Movies on that platform, and if you are already listening to this podcast on Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check this podcast out visually on my YouTube channel. Yes, you can watch this podcast on my YouTube channel at Night of the Movies on that platform as well. Likewise, wherever you may be watching or listening to this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the podcast, of course, and please leave me with some feedback on things to improve on in future podcasts, because there are always things to improve on, and feedback is, as ever, much appreciated. So, let's get into this, shall we? Argylle. So, this is a new film from Matthew Vaughn. If you don't know who Matthew Vaughn is, he's directed such other movies as the Kingsman films, X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass, the first Kick-Ass, not the second one, which isn't as good, Layer Cake, Stardust, and now this. And the film stars Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Henry Cavill, John Cena, Catherine O'Hara, Bryan Cranston, Ariana DeBose, Samuel Jackson, and Dua Lipa in a very small role. And this is one of my most anticipated movies for 2024. Back when I did my most anticipated movies list, my 5 most anticipated movies lists about a month ago now, this was at number 5 or number 4. I was really excited to see it because it's from Matthew Vaughn, who I know is not a huge name director, but whenever he makes a film that fires on all cylinders, they can be so creative and so entertaining and so wild to watch. They can be this really amazing movie experiences. The first Kingsman I loved to pieces. I couldn't believe how good that film was when I watched it the first time, and I still can't now, really. And Kick-Ass is one of the best comic book movies ever made. X-Men First Class is my favourite X-Men movie to date still, and I really liked Layer Cake. However, he has also made some naff films, some not so great movies, such as Kingsman 2, or The King's Man, or Stardust, films which don't fire all cylinders and don't really work as well as you hope they will. That being said, I don't hate any of these films. There are parts of Kingsman 2 I actually quite like seeing Elton John do ninja kicks. I know people make fun of that all the time. I don't care. No other movie has that, and I love that about it. I love the fact that Elton John plays such a big role in Kingsman 2, and it has some really enjoyable action sequences. Plus, The King's Man has some good parts to it as well. I love Ray Fiennes, and I love seeing him do, some action sequences. And I like the idea of doing a Kingsman movie in World War One. Doesn't totally work, and I rewatched that film about a year ago now, and didn't work for me the same way it worked for me when I watched it in the cinema. But, again, it has its moments. And Stardust, I really like what that goes for, but it doesn't totally work for me. It has some good parts, like Rob De Niro dancing whilst putting on some girlish clothes. That's quite funny. But other than that, it doesn't really come together. It's got some good parts to it. I really like the premise of Stardust, but it's not as good as it should be. That all being said, I love the first Kingsman film, Kingsman the Secret Service. I love Kick-Ass, I love X-Men First Class, and I love Layer Cake. Layer Cake was his first film, and this is his first original film since Layer Cake, as far as I am aware. And I've been so excited to see it because it's from Matthew Vaughn. I was excited at the prospect of Matthew Vaughn not directing something in the Kingsman franchise, not directing something that really it looked different than what he previously done. And the cast, what a stacked cast, and what a unique cast too. Who would have thought we'd got to see Catherine O'Hara and Bryan Cranston in a film together? Now someone's going to correct me in the comment section, saying they've already been in a film together, but I'm not aware of that. And Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell, having them as the 2 leads. What a unique pairing, and Henry Cavill and John Cena opposite each other. I mean, this cast sounded awesome, and I was really, really excited to see it. And I finally got round to watching it yesterday. And the Google plot synopsis for the film goes as follows: reclusive author Ellie Conway, played by Bryce Dallas Howard in the film, writes best-selling espionage novels about a secret agent named Argylle, who's on a mission to unravel a global spy syndicate. However, when the plot of her books start to mirror the covert actions of a real-life spy organisation, the line between fiction and reality begin to blur. And that's pretty much all you need to know about this film before seeing it. And honestly, this film was a real mixed bag for me. There is a lot to like about it, and I didn't have a bad time watching this in the cinema, but it's also got a lot of big problems, and it doesn't have the same momentum that the best Matthew Vaughn films like The First Kingsman does, and it doesn't have that same spark and that same creativity, and it isn't nearly as fun to watch as it should be. It's got a lot of big problems and it doesn't really work, but Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell are wonderful in their lead two roles. Let's talk about the positives first, why don't we? Let's start off thinking positively. Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell are great as the two leads, and I liked their chemistry. I know some people complain about the chemistry in the film. I thought it works. The film also had some very entertaining action sequences. That's something you can always guarantee from Matthew Vaughn. He does a great job helming these action sequences which are unique, which are really entertaining, and there's an action sequence that takes place on a train in the film, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the editing in the action sequence alongside this action sequence that takes place later on in the film, which if you haven't seen yet, I'm not going to spoil, but it's an action sequence that involves skating. There is great action in the film. There's great action in this film, which you always expect from Matthew Vaughn. Just look at the action sequences in the Kingsman films, say all about them, but the action sequences in the Kingsman films, particularly in the first Kingsman, that church sequence, I mean, simply brilliant. One of the best action set pieces I've seen in a movie over the past 10 years. And the same with X-Men First Class or Kick-Ass. You know, he has action sequences in these movies which are unparalleled. I haven't really seen anything like them in cinema before. And you do get those type of action sequences in this film. There were also some great song choices. There's one song choice in particular, and if you know me, if you watch this channel for quite a while, and if you do, thank you very much, by the way. But yeah, there's one song choice in particular which I didn't really like, but the song choices are mostly quite good, and the supporting cast all do a fine job. Dua Lipa, you know, I believe in the role she's playing. She doesn't have a very big role in the film, but you know, she's meant to play subtle and sexy, and she does it quite well. And you know, and there's parts of the film I really like. There's certain twists in the film which really worked for me, but there are far too many twists. If you watch a trailer for this film, you'll know that it's going to be one of those films which has a lot of twists. And I don't mind if a film has quite a few twists, and if the twists are unexpected. And there are quite a few twists in this film which I didn't guess. But it got to a point where I was like, oh, there's going to be another twist here. I'm just waiting for the next twist to come. I'm just waiting for the next twist. And it became too twisty and too turny to the point that I stopped enjoying it and started to expect the twist to come, which is the most annoying thing, because I never want to stop enjoying a Matthew Vaughn film. And I didn't even stop enjoying the second Kingsman. It's nowhere near as good as the first, but I didn't stop enjoying it. I stopped enjoying this film because I was expecting the next twist to come. I don't mind that it's a very twisty film, but the twists just kept coming after a certain point. By the time we got to the third and final act of the film, I wanted the twists to be over, but they were still coming. Like, it just kept going. I was like, stop the twists. Right, so this is an add-on. One thing I want to mention, but I just remembered to mention as soon as I finish recording the podcast, which is what always happens, is this. On the topic of twists, it got to a point in the film where I would like a twist and start to get into the film again, start to get back engaged in it, but then it got to a point where there'd be another twist and I get unengaged all over again. It was a very it was a part engaging experience and part unengaging experience. At parts I was like, yeah, I'm getting into this. I like where this film is going. Then it became a different film, and I'm like, no, I don't like that as much. It felt like it was fighting. It felt like it was fighting to be 3 films, and it never really achieved any of the films it was fighting to be. I'm not sure what film it wanted to be, and you can feel at the same time how convoluted and how messy it is in trying to be all of these films at the same time. And really, it should have just focused on telling one story and maybe intertwining another story with that. But the film is so unfocused and both engaging and unengaging that I don't really know how to think of it. And there's so much exposition in this film to the point that it became a little dull and boring, and I hate using that word, and I never ever thought I'd use a word in regards to a Matthew Vaughn film, but here we are, 2024's, already having already doing some strange things to me. But yeah, I mean, there are parts of the film which I did find a little tedious. Tried not using the word boring there, because there were some really great action moments, and then we get these large exposition dumps. I'm saying exposition like that because I usually can't pronounce a word if I was saying it. So get some large exposition. I can't even pronounce a flipping word. We get some large exposition dumps from great actors in this film, but none of it feels that interesting or that compelling or that engaging because of the way it's written. I'm sitting there watching these exposition dumps happen in the film, and I'm thinking, can we not have another action sequence? It's not that well written of a film. And as much as I love Matthew Vaughn, as much as I love him as a director, this is not as well directed as it should be. I don't know what tone he was going for with this film, because I don't think, and this is just me speculating, but I don't think Matthew Vaughn fully understands the tone of the script for this film either. I don't think he really understands what sort of film he's making, because is it satirical? Is it meant to be taking itself seriously? I've seen the film. It's 2 hours and a half or around that one time, and I still don't get it. I still don't get whether the film was meant to be satirical, whether it was meant to be a bit tongue-in-cheek, or whether it was meant to be taking itself seriously. And I don't think Matthew Vaughn understood it as well, and his direction at times feels lacking. It feels tired. It doesn't have that same momentum and that same push and that same energy and that same incredible and entertaining fierce nature to it, which his previous films do. And that was really annoying, because I know Matthew Vaughn can be better. Well, he has been better in the past, and that begs the question, is Matthew Vaughn starting to not be as good as a director as he used to be? Let's just say that. I was about to say something much worse, but I know I'm going to say instead, is he starting to become less of a director? Because his last great film was 10 years ago now, with the first Kingsman movie, with Kingsman: The Secret Service, which has this momentum to it and is fiercely entertaining to watch. Since then, we've had Kingsman 2, which I like, but I know I can understand why a lot of people don't, and it isn't nearly as good as it should be. And The King's Man, which was a real disappointment, and this film feels more pacing-wise in line with The King's Man, where there's so much exposition and the action sequences work and they're fun, but there's not enough of them. And the thing is, with Argylle, the action sequences, they work, and but the pacing with them is all over the place. It annoys me, because I really wanted to love this film, and I feel quite annoyed talking about it, because I know Matthew Vaughn can be better. I've seen it happen before. His films, when the final all cylinders, they can be these incredible thrill rides. But this film isn't, and I really hoped it would be. I really, really hope that. And I'm starting to think that maybe Matthew Vaughn has lost that spark which made him so great as a director. I'm starting to think that maybe he isn't the director he used to be, and that's unfortunate. I'm feeling sad about that because I love Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, and Kingsman: The Secret Service. But come on, this film to me exemplified that maybe he's starting to, I don't know, lose his edge, lose his style, and lose what made him so great, because it doesn't nearly have the same momentum and doesn't nearly have the same style of direction that the best of his films do. I really thought it was going to be another kind of sort of Kingsman: The Secret Service, where it introduces a new character and we go on the journey with them and we end up getting to this high stakes finale. But the thing is, the finale of this film doesn't have any stakes. I don't understand the stakes in this film. We are never told what's going to happen if this evil spy organisation wins. We're just told they're bad. And it's like, okay, but why should I care if they get the plans or whatever they're... I made it sound like getting the Death Star plans there, but no, why should I care if they get what they're looking for? I can't even remember what they're looking for because I didn't care that much. I can't even remember the name of it. Why should I care about it? Because the stakes... This film doesn't have any stakes. And the cast all do a fine job. I'll get on to Bryce Dallas Howard in a sec. But, Sam Rockwell is wonderful to watch. So is Samuel Jackson. So is... Dua Lipa, John Cena, Henry Cavill, and Amanda Bynes, and everybody in this film. Everybody is wonderful and delightful to watch. But I didn't for one second think they were playing their characters. I felt I was just watching actors. Literally, whenever Henry Cavill would appear on screen, I was like, oh, it's Henry Cavill with a funny haircut. Oh, that's John Cena. Oh, that's Amanda Bynes. Oh, that's such and such a body. I never for a second felt like I was watching characters. I felt like I was watching actors. And that was it. I felt like I was watching these actors have fun because they're having fun in the film, and good on them for having fun making this movie. But I never really felt like they were playing their characters, unlike the first Kingsman again, where Samuel Jackson's also in that, and I didn't feel like I was watching Samuel Jackson, which is a big thing for a star like Samuel Jackson, who's in almost everything. But then I'm watching him in this film, and I felt like I was watching Samuel Jackson. I was like, yeah, that's just Samuel Jackson laughing in a room at one point. And Bryce Dallas Howard, she's good in the film, but she's kind of miscast. And the reason I'm saying kind of there is because I liked her in this film. She brings a certain presence to this film, which I think is needed, and she seems to be enjoying herself playing this role, and I do think she can lead the film, regardless of what some others may say. I think she can lead a movie like this. But, and I really like Bryce Dallas Howard, but I would have preferred it if there was an unknown in the lead role. Like what happened with Taron Egerton when he was in the lead role as Eggsy in the first Kingsman. Because when Taron Egerton was first cast in the first Kingsman, he was an unknown. Now he's quite a big star, but he was an unknown back then, and it worked because you had a great supporting cast around him, which were all famous, the likes of Colin Firth, Mark Strong, Samuel Jackson, and all that. And that made it work. Having them as supporting cast and having Taron Egerton, this relatively unknown at the time, made that film work, and it made me get invested into that lead character far more. Whilst here, all I'm seeing when I watch Bryce Dallas Howard in the film is Bryce Dallas Howard. That's all I'm seeing whilst I watch her in the film. And if they cast an unknown, I think it could have worked better. And I think it could have got me more invested into that character. Again, I like Bryce Dallas Howard in this film, and I think she brings something to it which the script doesn't necessarily, and something which I feel was needed. But I would have liked to see someone else, an unknown, take on the lead role, so I was able to get invested into the characters more, because I don't care about any of the characters in this film. There are some twists revolving around the characters, particularly a twist with Bryce Dallas Howard's character, which I really liked. And if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It happens about halfway through the film. But I didn't care about the characters enough to care about the journeys they go on. And it got to the point where I felt like I was just watching actors. I really think they should have cast an unknown in the lead role, because Bryce Dallas Howard isn't an unknown. She's been in the Jurassic World trilogy. You know, she knows. She's known. She's a big star. The first Jurassic World made $1 billion. I'm not saying this one will make as much as that, but she's a well-known star, and I didn't feel at any point like I was watching her character. I just felt like I was watching her, although she was delightful to watch in the film. The film is also, according to Google, has a budget, or according to IMDb in fact, has a budget of $200 million. Wow. For an original property, that says a lot. You know, you don't usually have original films like this which have a budget like that. But the more shocking thing is what they spent the budget on. Because there's a lot of CGI in this film, and some of the CGI doesn't look great. I'd actually say a lot of the CGI doesn't look great, and there's a lot of it. It looks a little video gamey, and I am wondering what they spent the $200 million budget on. Maybe it was to get the cast. Oh no, or maybe it could be the song choices. I liked some of the song choices in this film. There was one song choice which I was really put off by, and that is Now and Then by the Beatles, the newest and last Beatles song, which was released last November. I made a video about it on this channel talking about how much I loved that song and how much it meant to me. The thing is about the song in this film, it's used, and the first time it's used I'm like, okay, why is it being used there? And then they explain why that song is used. And I'm not going to go into detail, but the explanation is something on the lines of, it's my song. And when they say that, I'm thinking, okay, since when has it been your song? The song only came out last November. And I know it's just a song, but at the same time, the song is used so many times in the film, and it's a song which doesn't really work in the context of the film. And it keeps being used. And the thing is, they say that line, and they're like, oh, it's my song, it's our song. And I'm thinking, when though? Like, when was it your song? You only released last November. And I'm not sure if you're using it right, and that's just really annoying. It was slightly jarring whenever they mention the song, or whenever the song played in this film. I'm like, this isn't working as well as it could do. And I love that song. I love the newest and last Beatles song, Now and Then. I think it is beautiful. And simply one of the best songs I've heard over the past couple of years. But I don't think they used it right in this film. I kind of like that they used it, but I also don't, because I don't think it's used well. And I like the idea of using a Beatles song in this film, because I'm a huge Beatles fan. Just behind me is an Abbey Road poster over there. But at the same time though, why did it have to be Now and Then? Why not use another Beatles song ballad, or another Beatles love song? There's plenty of them, you know. They could have used another Beatles song, and I think it actually would have worked to great effect, because I don't know if a lot of people are going to understand the significance of that song, and what the song actually means, and who it's by. And again, I know it's only a song, but the music in a film can affect the way you're watching it. The music is an integral part to the film, especially in this film, and especially in Matthew Vaughn films, where he uses, you know, needle drops all the time, in films like Kick-Ass, Kingsman: The Secret Service, Kingsman: Golden Circle, Layer Cake, and so on and so on. And it's used as a plot point in this film, and I don't know. I liked it. I like the idea behind it, but I'm not sure why the song was used. And actually, I found it a little annoying. Plus, sticking on with music for a sec, Lorne Balfe does the musical score for this film. Lorne Balfe is a great composer. He did the musical scores for the latest Mission Impossible films and various other movies that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. His score for this film is not great. Where was Henry Jackman, who did the scores for the Kingsman films? The scores for the Kingsman films are great. They perfectly fit with those films. They sound like the proper spy scores. Yet the score for this film felt like it was the score for a spy parody. You know, something like Austin Powers. That's what it felt like it was a score for. It was over the top, and every time it was used, it's like, that's meant to have more of an effect than it is having. But actually, it's just annoying me. I don't think Lorne Balfe's score for this film works particularly well. I really don't think it works well. And it's annoying, because I'm just sat there thinking, well, it's not the Kingsman theme. It's not the Kingsman theme at all. Furthermore, I've got other problems with this film. What is the post-credit scene? What is it trying to do? Another problem I have with this movie, why is the runtime 2 hours and a half or 2 hours 20 minutes? It's too long. In there is a good maybe 90-minute to 2 hour film, but it goes on for 20 minutes too long, and again has these large exposition dumps where kites are explaining the plot to one another, and I'm sat there and I'm like, stop doing this, get on with it. And inject a song here, have a needle drop, have a cool action scene, and you know what, you might win me back. But the film just stopped being fun, and it felt more like an action spy movie, a spy action film from the early noughties, from the early 2000s. It did not feel like it came from this year. It was a really odd experience, because even though I've criticised the film a lot, and even so I had a lot of big problems with it, and even so I stopped enjoying it, I also didn't mind it. It's a really weird thing where this is the second time in this review today I put my head in my hands. I don't really know what to think about it. I don't really know whether I liked it or not. Because parts of it I was like, yeah, I'm digging this movie. I like the twisty nature of it. I like the action sequences. And then other parts of the film I was feeling, this isn't working. This is not working. Way too many twists. Stop twisting the narrative! That's what I kept feeling like at certain parts later on in the film. You know, it's just, I think I enjoyed it because I like Matthew Vaughn's style. As I mentioned, I don't hate any of his films, and I don't hate this film. But why is it the way it is? I don't really get what it's going for. Is it meant to be the satire? Is it meant to be serious? Is it meant to be tongue-in-cheek? I still don't know, and I've seen the film. You know? I really, really wish it was better, because it was one of my most anticipated movies. And whenever Matthew Vaughn whenever a new Matthew Vaughn film comes out, I get excited for it. And I'm still going to get excited for his movies going forward, but I'm also not going to go in with too high expectations anymore, because he hasn't made a great film in 10 years. And I really want him to make another Kingsman the Secret Service, or another Layer Cake, or another Stardust even. I didn't love Stardust, but at least it had more going for it than this film, though. I mean, all the ingredients were there, and it was, on paper, it doesn't sound like it would be a bad watch, and it isn't really a bad watch, and it isn't really a bad film either. But it's a definition of a mixed bag for me, because I liked it in parts. It's got some enjoyable parts, but I don't know what it's going for. Still, you know what? I'll rewatch it. That's the funny thing, because it's such a weird movie, and it's so odd, and it's a movie where I'm not quite sure what they're going for. I would rewatch it just to try and understand what they're going for again. That's the thing. I would rewatch it, and in fact, I'm rewatching it tomorrow with my mates at the cinema. So, you know, I don't hate it. I don't think it's unwatchable, but should be better. Should be so much better, especially from Matthew Vaughn. Still, there's something about it which, I don't know. It worked to me, but maybe not the way they expected it to. Maybe not the way they hoped it would. Maybe not the way the filmmakers behind this film hoped it would. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Argylle, I'm going to say it's a 6 out of 10. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because I give films I find to be okay a 6 out of 10. And I use the word okay there very loosely. I do not think this is a brilliant film. I do not think this is a good film even. I think it's just about okay. And when I say just about okay, I literally mean, you know, if okay was on this stepping stone, it'd be just touching it, you know. Probably didn't explain that too well, but you get the point, you know. It's just about okay. But, could be better, you know. I really wish it just had an unknown in the lead role and it tightened the runtime up, and I'm not really sure Matthew Vaughn knew what to do with the script. I don't think he knew how to direct this film. I'm also not really sure what it was meant to be, and I never ever felt like the cast were playing the characters they were meant to be playing. And there's one song choice in the film which keeps going back, which really frustrated me, especially as a big Beatles fan. I don't get it, but I also kind of like the fact that it exists. And I didn't hate watching it. And it's an original movie which, you know, had a $200 million budget and does some things which are kind of creative, but I don't really know how to feel about it, and just thinking about it now has made me confused. I mean, like the film did yesterday, and I didn't really get it, but I also, I liked it in parts, and it wasn't an awful watch. It really is a definition of a mixed bag for me, because I'm not quite sure what I saw, but I know I didn't hate it. I know I didn't even dislike it, which is enough, you know. It's fine. It's just above fine, actually, but, you know. It is what it is. I'm not really sure how to think about it. I don't think I'll ever really be sure to think about it. But it still remains another less than great Matthew Vaughn film, which is not good. Not good at all. Still, I didn't mind it overall. And so, all in all, I'm going to say once more that Argylle, I almost said Kingsman there, Argylle is a 6 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, that's it for this podcast for today. Whatever you thought of Argylle, please let me know in the comment section below. Maybe you loved the film, and if you did, God, I'm jealous of you. I'm really, really jealous. Or maybe you didn't think the film was anything special. Whatever your thoughts are on Argylle, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below. Pardon me, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this podcast. I look forward to many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As I've already said, thank you as always for watching or listening to the podcast, and I suppose this is it. So I will see you guys again soon. My tummy's already rumbling there. I will see you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye.